Hello, hello, hello. This is Misty Magdalena Grace with the new and improved version of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, where we talk about spirituality, psychedelics, plant medicine, microdosing, and really that journey within to finding your best innate wisdom, to your best health, your best wealth through all sorts of inner child healing, trauma release, grief recovery, overcoming addictions, and working with the mind, the body, and spirit. So go ahead, leave a review, subscribe, download. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks for tuning in today. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy summer. I believe, yes, this is my first episode after the solstice, and it's perfectly designed, of course, not by accident, with my friend Joe Clarke, who is the author of Sol, S-O-L. So we'll learn more about that later. I just want to welcome, if you're tuning in live for the first time, we do live shows, both monologues with myself and, of course, amazing guests like Joe today. So if you want to, you can comment below right now. I do see that we have a live audience. If you want to comment below, #live, and where you're tuning in from, city, state, country, or you can just ask questions later during the show. If you're on the replay, of course, #replay, and we're just excited to have you. As you heard from the intro, I myself am a medicine woman, and if you've been following me for a while, I've well over into 300 episodes and have had a transformation of my own because of this topic that you've heard me talk about a lot this year and last year, this ascension on the planet. Some people call it 5D, some people call it Age of Aquarius, some people call it the awakening of Gaia. Whatever you call it, there's stuff happening. We've all been feeling it in one way, form, or another. And so when you heard my guest, Franco, he was talking about all of these beautiful predictions at the beginning of the month of June about this year of 2024, what's coming up in 2025. And that's all great. But Joe here, he's lived it. He's become a great friend. He's been a combo client. I've learned more and more about his passion for the heart. And I'm just really excited to share practical wisdom today, as well as share Joe and his amazing story and journey and how he serves people through this ascension. So welcome, Joe. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you now. So Joe is an author, again, his book, Sol. We'll get to a chance to talk about that. He's a spiritual healer, a former lawyer. So I'm really excited to hear how a former lawyer works with heart connection, and because that's his specialty as a spiritual healer, is strengthening the heart connection, which you're going to hear more about on my podcast in the next few days as well. So again, divine timing. Thanks, Joe. I'd love for you to share with our audience who you are and how you got to be where you are today.
Thanks, Magdalena, and thanks for having me on. My name is Joe Clarke, spiritual healer and author, as Magdalena said, and my specialty is really about strengthening the heart connection. And the reason that's the case is that's what my spiritual awakening has been all about. My spiritual awakening began back in 2010. I was a law student up at UC Berkeley. I was 29 years old at the time. And out of the blue, I was diagnosed with leukemia. I finished my last law exam of the semester. It was in mid-December of 2010. And I'd been feeling run down. I'd been losing weight. I'd been having night sweats. But I was a workaholic at the time. I was a head-based person. And so I was all about go, go, go. And so my thinking was my final exams are worth 100% of my grade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push through whatever this is. And when my last exam is done, I'll go to the health clinic, I'll get it cleaned up, I'll get back on the horse, and life will continue on its path. And as it often does, the universe had a different story in mind. I left that exam. It was an exam on evidence law. I remember some classmates were like, hey, let's go to the bar. Let's grab a drink to celebrate. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to run down to the health clinic and, get some antibiotics or whatever, but I'll probably meet you guys later. And before the sun went down that day, I was admitted to the hospital at Altabate Summit Medical Center. I was diagnosed with leukemia, and I was getting chemotherapy the next day. And needless to say, this was like a freight train hitting me. Completely took my life off the track that I thought I was on. And as difficult as it was and as scary as it was also the beginnings of my spiritual awakening process. And if it's okay, Magdalena, I'll go a little more in depth about that.
Absolutely. Please do.
Yeah. So, the first few days I'm in the hospital, there's kind of a frenzy of activity around me. I was blessed to have friends and family come visit. There were doctors, nurses, and staff constantly coming into my room to do tests, bring me a meal, clean things up. And the result of this was I didn't really have much time to dwell on my situation. But then a few days into my stay, it was late in the morning. I remember the doctor had come by for his rounds. My visitors had left to go for breakfast. And I was sitting in the hospital bed by myself. And for the first time since all this had happened, I finally had time to really reflect and dwell on my situation. And it was one of the more terrifying experiences of my life. This form of leukemia I had, acute myeloid leukemia, is a particularly lethal form of leukemia. And I knew that. And so as I'm sitting there alone with my thoughts, they really started to gather steam. And pounding in my head is this thought over and over again: you're going to die in this room. You're going to die in this room. You're going to die in this room. As I'm sitting there and these thoughts are gaining momentum, I feel this panic creeping in. It's almost like an icy tentacle wrapping around my gut and my head and my heart. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought my heart might burst from all the fear. And suddenly, out of the blue, I felt this calmness. And I'm lying in the hospital bed, and I don't see anything above me, but I just sense hovering above me this calming, soothing presence. And right where that fear had been, all that quaking energy had been, I immediately felt this sense of calm. And then I felt the presence descend into my body. And it was like this breeze that just blew out all those fears, all those worries, all that panic in an instant. And from deep inside of myself, I heard this message resonating. And the message was, "You're okay. You're okay." And it said, whether you suffer in this room, whether you die in this room, you, on the deepest levels, are truly okay. And this was a message that came from a place so deep inside of me that honestly, Magdalena, it didn't feel like someone was telling me. It felt like I was actually remembering something I'd forgotten. And this, in hindsight, was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. It was the seed that was planted that's been sprouting in many ways ever since. And yeah, as I'm reliving it now, it's maybe the most profound experience in my life. And I see it as setting the path that I've been walking now in the years since.
Wow. That's so amazing. I think that's actually the first time I've heard the depths of your story, and I'm blown away. I don't think I ever told you this, because I had one of my best friends, one of my first real tragic deaths in my life was a 20-year-old friend who had the same form of leukemia. And I can't even imagine being in that space where you were and having those thoughts and the fear and even just how what's the word I'm looking for? Cavalier. You're like, I'm just going to go get some antibiotics. Isn't that interesting how some of us, and we're both Virgos, so we joke about this, some of us need like a 2x4 to the head to open up our heart. And that's the brain that we really want to talk about today. Because I will just say this really quickly. A lot of the Ascension astrologers and spiritual prognosticators, they're all reminding us, be in your heart. Be in your heart, be in your heart. And I, not same, but similar to you, had that spiritual awakening of workaholism, addiction, go, do. And I feel like everyone's getting slowed down in many different ways. Not always a disease. It could be divorce, death, job loss, relationships ending. There's just a lot of these heartbreaking experiences. So let's talk about, I'd like always learning from other people and, from one teacher to another. How do you define, and maybe talk about this in your book or just in general, how do you define the ascension or spiritual awakening process?
I think the clearest definition I've come to is that it's really a form of remembering. And for me, that really has a nexus to what I experienced there in the hospital, because I think for most of our lives, especially folks like me and you who are driven and ambitious, there's this idea of accumulating knowledge, of kind of world conquering, of going out there, getting the skills, the experience, and the knowledge we need to basically impose our will on the world and have life go the way we want it to go, according to our preferences and our biases. And what the spiritual awakening process has been for me is a simultaneous unraveling of a lot of those assumptions and biases that I have, and replacing it with this deep sense of remembering inside of myself of who and what I am. And there's layers to that. On the deepest level, for me, it's remembering that, my definition of God, I love the definition that the spiritual teacher Byron Katie uses. God is everything, God is good. And Eckhart Tolle says, God is the one life underneath all the forms of life. And that's the concept of God that I've come to embrace, which means that we all can embrace that we are God, that it's the one thing that everything in existence shares. And then from that, we get layers into our particularity, into our individuality. And so the spiritual awakening process is then, for me, accepting, okay, if everything is God, what is my purpose in this world to do? How can I, as God, serve God in my being? And I think every day of the spiritual awakening process is peeling back a layer of who we thought we were and rediscovering on a deeper layer who we always have been and who we're meant to be in this life.
Awesome. Beautiful. And I know there was a lot of, because you said your journey of spiritual awakening and ascension, and I just want to give context because you said 2010, right? And it's interesting because around that time I was starting my own, I call it descent into hell or dark night of the soul. And in 2012, the Mayan calendar and all these, again, prognosticators, like potentially the end of the world, but it was the end of the world as we knew it. And I think a lot of people were starting to break down before they could have that breakthrough. And then 2020 brought a lot of us to our knees and brought us into a whole nother level of that. So when did you have like your official like start and confidence to go out and say, I am a healer? Because coming from lawyer self to healer self, I know there's a big story in there. Share whatever, timelines or whatever wisdom that you want to share. And then we'll talk more about the heart connection.
Beautiful. Yeah. So it was 2021 when I left the law to pursue my calling to be an author and a spiritual healer. And, kind of this brief summary between 2010, when I get out of the hospital with leukemia, and 2021, there was this period where I basically got back on the life track that I was on before I was in the hospital. The main change in my life when I left the hospital after leukemia was mindfulness. I read Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, while I was in the hospital. I'd never read a book like that before. And I really felt my consciousness expand. And I felt this deep desire inside of myself to cultivate mindfulness through things like meditation, breath work, and just being more mindful throughout the day of how I'm thinking and feeling. But in many ways, a lot of my old addictive patterns, self-destructive patterns came back in. For me, workaholism was a big part of it, basically running on fuel and stress, defining my sense of self-worth by my perceived productivity and the path that I thought I was on. And, you talked about that 2x4 to the head. If leukemia was the first one, the second one came in 2018 and 2019. It was this gradual experience I had where basically what it felt like is my heart and my gut exploded. All my life I've been living from my head. And I had this tendency to just push everything I didn't want to deal with down. Complex emotions, difficulties in relationships, things I didn't understand. And so my heart and gut were kind of like this landfill that were holding all these difficulties that I just didn't want to deal with in my head. And in 2018 and 2019, the universe kind of put a key in, turned it, and reversed the flow. And so my dark night of the soul was basically this torrent of all these repressed experiences coming back up into my headspace. And my spiritual awakening process, my kind of surfing of the ascension wave, was learning different tools and techniques and medicines that could allow me to simultaneously keep my poise in this torrent and move forward and remain engaged in life. And, it was hell to go through. I mean, absolutely like a horrific form of torture in some ways. And like all things in life, the best source of wisdom, skills, and compassion was going through that and coming through on the other side, because it was only in the intensity and difficulty of that experience that I had the deep motivation to make changes in my life so that I could still be the person I wanted to be as these difficulties were happening.
That's beautiful. Yeah, we have so many parallels. And I'm glad, I'm going to just highlight a couple of the things that you said. You became from lawyer to healer. I became, sales coach to healer. And there's a lot of people in my audience. This is biggest reason why I'm highlighting this, that truly a spiritual awakening is remembering who you truly are. And we are all healers. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe you're going to become a healer like Joe and myself, but it might. I don't know if what you're seeing, Joe, but I'm attracting a lot of people who, gosh, I want to be a healer and a medicine woman. I want to hear your story. How did you get to where you are? Because the medicine, whatever that is, it could be many different varieties. Doesn't even have to be plant medicine, but the medicine that is them, their heart medicine, is calling them to ascend to the spiritual masters and teachers that I think we all are, right? Ascension to me is kind of more or less that, finding that heart-centered God source within that you can bring for as within, so without. And so do you see that with a lot of your clients? People are waking up and finding that maybe they're healers or something along those lines?
I am. And, what's beautiful too is even for those folks who aren't explicitly using those terms, I'm seeing in the choices they're making and the intentions they're setting that exact thing. And I love that image you set. I'm having this visual of the heart. There's that old saying, straight is the gate and narrow is the way. And I think that in some ways refers to this heart space. And what I see a lot of my clients trying to do is they've been playing the head game, right? Strategizing, kind of world conquering, having things your way. Or they've been playing the gut game, which is kind of more reflexive. Yes, no, I don't know, kind of get away, kind of that pushing energy. And they're trying instead to channel their energy more through their heart space. I'm picturing like a river that's been scattered and diverted in all kinds of different ways. And what they're trying to do is clear that channel so that more of their conscious awareness, more of their present moment energy is constantly flowing and reflowing through the heart. And when we say you are the medicine, I think that's really what we mean. When we are concentrating our energy in the heart and the gut, we essentially become, in some ways, our own saboteurs. We miss out on the opportunities of life because we're trying to get things from the world. But when we're actually flowing through the heart, that very same energy that concentrated in the head and the gut can create so many problems. Just by shifting the emphasis to the heart space, we naturally become more compassionate, more generous, more open, more reflective. And over time, we gradually bring more healing to that space because that present moment awareness, that consciousness, really that flowing of God from source that comes through all of us, the heart is its home. And so we direct that channel of energy more and more through the heart. We feel more at home in ourselves.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Home is where the heart is, and listen to the heart. And there's so many 80s songs I could break out into right now, but I won't for sake of time. And, I haven't warmed up. But anyway, I also want to mention, because I'm passionate about the three brains. So a lot of times before I transformed and remembered who I truly am, and I had played with this before because of my health and fitness career understanding, even having congestive heart failure running in my family and, high blood pressure, all these things. Like, the heart is 5,000 times more magnetic, and the gut brain is where a lot of our neurotransmitters and serotonin and happy hormones are developed. So if you just focus on this, which it sounds like you and I were doing, we were the over-analyzing, think out, outdo, just a lot of that masculine analytical mind stuff. And so I think with you, we have similarities in connecting those three brains, but this is where maybe we can actually start to transition into the practical tips. So whoever is listening, first of all, if you're just joining us, this is Joe Clarke and I talking about matters of the heart, and really just drilling into how you can leverage the heart through the spiritual awakening and ascension process. And always want to invite people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment below if you have any questions, if you happen to catch us during the live, or maybe even on the replay. I do check my YouTube comments, my LinkedIn comments, and my Facebook comments. It's where I'm all streaming right now. But what are some practical tips for people today and I know you have a really cool meditation. I definitely would like to get to that. So maybe if you want to start with a couple practical tips that people could do in this moment today to strengthen their heart connection so they can get out of their head.
Yeah, I'd love to introduce a mantra to you, which you can really unpack into a series of practices and engage in as much depth as you want, or you can simply just say the mantra silently or aloud to yourself to bring more centering and to naturally connect to your heart. And the mantra is this: soften, feel, and flow. Soften, feel, and flow. If we want to unpack each of those words a little bit, soften, let your body relax. You might check where you might be holding tension in your body, maybe some in the jaw, some in the eyes. Sometimes we hold it down in the anus and the feet and the shoulders. Just let your body soften. Let your body release. In my experience, that tension is what drives that flow of energy in us to over-concentrate in the head or over-concentrate down in the gut. because we're going from a fear state. We're thinking we need to do something, make something happen now, not this, only that. When we soften, we allow the flow of the universe, the flow of creation to come through us. We naturally reconnect with a sense of peace and calmness. So that first lesson I want to give you, that first part of the mantra, is to soften. And then feeling. Go ahead and feel your heart muscle right now. Feel that heart muscle beating in your chest, and feel free to put your hand on your chest to strengthen that connection. I like to check my pulse sometimes, just to feel it beating. Our lives can be so complex. Our attention can be so scattered in the past or the future, and not in the present. But when you're feeling your heart, when you're feeling the sensations of each individual heartbeat, when you're staying with the rhythm that those beats create over time, you're only in one time, and that's the now, the present. The mind can span millions of years in the blink of an eye through imagination. The heart is always in one time, now. By feeling into your heart, by feeling those sensations and connecting with that rhythm, you connect with the now, and you concentrate more and more of your energy into the heart space. The third part of this mantra, it goes soften, feel, and flow. We have a built-in source of flow, and it's our breath. Connect with your breath now. Feel the air flowing in and out of your body. And if your breath feels stuck or shallow, feel free to make your breathing a little slower and a little deeper, one breath at a time. So you feel this breathing. So you feel this air flowing from the atmosphere into your lungs, and from your lungs back into the atmosphere. Notice the flow. Notice the process and the rhythms it contains. And notice how when you're flowing with your breath, as you allow your attention to concentrate more and more steadily on your breathing, the mind naturally drops those worries it's holding on to, those resentments it's holding on to, those unresolved things from the past, those concerns about the future. They all gently drift away as you connect more and more deeply with the flow of your breathing. So I invite you to see this mantra and these practices of softening, feeling, and flowing like a portable oasis that you carry with you always. In life, we're going to be engaged in so many different things, at work, in our family life, and our own personal pursuits. We're not always going to be softening, feeling, and flowing. And that's actually a relief and a source of inspiration, because when you allow yourself to soften, feel, and flow for as long as you do, give it everything you have. Pour yourself into it completely, knowing that it's going to help you feel better in that moment. And then when you do re-engage life, it's going to empower you to re-engage life more from your place of integrity, your place of passion, your place of purpose, so that you can act in alignment with your deepest truths instead of reacting, which is what we tend to do when we lose ourselves in the head or the gut. Thanks for letting me share that.
That was so beautiful. I'm really relaxed right now. So, which is the idea, right? Because when we're in our head, we're pushing or pulling, all of that kind of stuff. And I love that. That's easy to remember too. Soften, feel, and flow. And I know that for me, I was so bogged down by the overdoing, the grief, unresolved grief. My heart had like a brick wall around it. And would you agree with me that a lot of these events that are happening, death, divorce, dis-ease, a lot of it is because of the ascension, and it's to open up our heart?
Yes. There's no other way really to tap into the resiliency that we need to for this ascension process, except through the grief and the difficulty of exactly what you talked about.
Yeah. I know for me, I'll be sharing a podcast soon. I thought I would have done it by now. I'm still processing. I went to Mount Shasta last week, and I don't know if any intuitive guidance comes from you on this one, but I was here at this mountain, which is, it's reported to be the sacral chakra of the planet. And so there's a lot of intense energies there, like a different frequency, a different vibration. And so as soon as we got there, literally that night, I went to a sound healing, and before she even started the healing, I was bawling like a baby for an hour straight. And thankfully, because I've done a lot of work already, I felt my heart without even having to think twice. And I just allowed, it was like a waterfall, like my heart was breaking open. And so I think I mentioned that too, because sound healing, Reiki, these processes that you do, I choose to serve combo and work with the chakras, in that capacity to help people wake up and remember who they truly are and get out of their head and into their heart, more into their body, right? A lot of us have been out of our body. It's just how that process happens. But what are other methods or things that you can, share that are practical that, can apply to, hopefully you do these healings as opposed to having an accident or a death or divorce or all of that. If you're intentional about the healings, right, you don't have to have a dark night of the soul per se. You could actually help yourself prevent those kind of things. And I'm all about prevention versus correction if possible. So that was kind of a lot to share, but any guidance or wisdom that you want to, tack on to that would be wonderful.
And gladly, when you were talking about that, the thought that comes to mind to me is the universe and the heart know, and sometimes they're in conversation with each other in a way that we in our heads don't. And what I'm thinking about here is the fact that you went up there, and how many days were you up there for?
Well, it was a total of 5, and this happened on the first night.
Yeah, and what my intuition is telling me is that's the beauty of doing what you did, which is taking that dedicated time to be away from work and to be in a space where you can truly release. Because I think, like if you had 3 clients the next day, part of you wouldn't feel comfortable opening that waterfall because you're like, am I going to be able to regather myself to be in a spirit of service? And so when we're constantly on that hamster wheel, day to day, week to week, month to month, we don't get that depth of release that we get when we go to a retreat space. And it just sounds to me like your heart and the universe have been planning this for a while. And when they got there, they said, now is the time to do this depth of healing and release that we simply can't do on the week to week level. And so I think that key kind of unlocked for you. And I'm so proud of you for having the bravery to do that, because it's, I know how it is when you're working, you're building your clientele, you're having your steady business. It's so easy to just stay in that momentum. And you had the courage to step out and to give your heart the time it needed to do its deep work. And you and your clients and your family will all benefit as a result. So salute to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a practical tip right there. Everyone write that down. Go on vacation. Or, turn your phone off for a few days, shut off the notifications. I tell people even to take like a social media detox if you can't, quote unquote, go somewhere to a mountain and go, go camping, go to a retreat of some sort, and just tune out the world and allow yourself to just be.
Amen.
That's beautiful. Well, I know we have a little bit of time left. Is there anything else that you want to share, practical tips wise, anything that you've learned about the heart connection? The floor is yours, my friend.
Beautiful. Yeah. So the first thing I'll mention is, if you're looking to strengthen your heart connection and your spiritual connection, I'm holding up a copy of my book here. It's called Sol, S-O-L, the Spanish word for sun. And the subtitle is Supportive Guidance for Healing and Awakening. And this book came to me in my healing and awakening process. One of the gifts of spiritual awakening for me was I began channeling spiritual wisdom. I'd be driving to work, I'd be brushing my teeth, cooking dinner, and all of a sudden these epiphanies and insights would come through about our divine nature as humans, about why we struggle and suffer so much, and about how we can heal through the heart. And so this book is a combination of a lot of that spiritual wisdom I've channeled. I provide some really helpful contextualization and practical guidance around that wisdom. And then I also have a section of the book that's dedicated specifically to practices you can do to bring more healing and heart connection into your life. Things like meditations, breath work, ways to harmonize your energy, and then specific practices designed for healing. So if you're on the spiritual awakening path or you're curious about it, want to learn more, I think that book would be a great place to start. And then I'd love, if time allows, you talked about the 3 brains. I have this breathing technique called 3-candle breathing, which actually works with the 3 brain system to bring them into harmony and cultivate a heart connection. So if time allows, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, let's go ahead. If you think you can keep it to like maybe 5 minutes, is that possible?
Here we go.
And I think what I'd like to do is, because I want to make you center stage for those who are watching on video format. So I'm just going to go backstage, allowing you the full screen so I can also partake.
Cool.
So then when you're done, just invite me back. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Awesome. Here we go.
All right. Let's go ahead and just start by connecting with your posture. If you're sitting down, notice whatever surface is supporting your pelvis. Notice your pelvis in turn supporting your spine. Notice your spine being supported by the pelvis and supporting the neck. Then notice the neck being supported by the spine and supporting the head. And allow these 4 areas, the head, the neck, the spine, and the pelvis, to come into an alignment that feels healthy and comfortable for you. The way this technique works is we're going to do rhythmic belly breathing, and we're going to visualize candles in 3 spaces: in our guts, at our nose, and at our heart. And we're going to build this up step by step, and then the last minute we'll put them together. So just follow my guidance, and I'll take you every step of the way. I invite you to gently put your hands over your belly, right in the area of your navel. And to start, I don't want you to worry about breathing right now. I want you to do gentle belly extensions. Practice gently expanding your belly out into your hands and then letting it retract. Picture your belly like a balloon that you fill up gently by extending it out and then let it gently retract. Go ahead and do a few of those now. Nicely done. Once you feel a rhythm going with those belly extensions, begin to gently incorporate the breath. Notice how as you extend your belly, you can begin to draw air in through your lungs. Spend a little time with this dynamic now. Gentle belly extensions, and let those gentle belly extensions power the inhale. And let it release. Good, a few more of those. Good, and the last thing here now is I want you to visualize a candle in the area of your belly, right under where your hand is there. And this candle is a visual. As you inhale, the candle flame lights and grows brighter and brighter and brighter. When you exhale, you blow that candle out. Let there be nothing but smoke. And let that symbolize that on the exhale, you release everything you're holding on to. Tensions, thoughts, worries. You're focusing on the technique itself. You just let it all go. Because on the next inhale, you're going to relight that candle. So let's do that together now. Hands on the belly, gently extending the belly, inhaling. Picture that candle lighting up as you inhale. And then the release, blow it out. When you inhale again, light that candle. Watch it burning brighter and brighter, and then blow it out. Good. Do one more of those candle breaths at the belly. Power the inhale with the belly. See that candle burning brighter and brighter. And then blow it out. Beautiful job. Let's leave the belly for a moment. Let the spotlight of attention come up to your nose. We're going to do the same dynamic here. I want you to start by concentrating on your nose and just practice inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose of the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose or the mouth. One more. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose or the mouth. And now add the candle. As you inhale through the nose, see that candle right behind your nose growing brighter and brighter and brighter. And the exhale, blow that candle out. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to remember. Because on this next inhale through the nose, you're going to light that candle right back up. Good. One more candle breath at the nose. Inhale through the nose, light that candle, and then blow it out. Beautiful. Spotlight of attention now comes down from the nose to the chest, right to your heart space. Feel free to put a hand over your heart. Feel that heart muscle breathing in your chest, beating in your chest. And as you inhale now, feel that chest gently expanding, and picture that candle in the heart glowing brighter and brighter as you inhale. And then as you exhale, blow that heart candle out. You know the rhythm by now, so just connect with that heart. Put that candle in the heart. Let it burn bright on the inhales, and then blow it completely out on the exhales, knowing you're going to light it once again. Good. Do one more good heart candle breath. Beautiful. All right, we've got the pieces, and let's now put it together into a whole. What we're going to do is we're going to do one breath that incorporates all three candles. And we're going to do it in this order: belly, nose, heart. I'll walk you through a couple of them together, and then I'll hold space for you to practice it a little more on your own before we wrap up. So feel free to put one hand down on your belly, one hand over your heart. And when you're ready, join me in this rhythm. Light that belly candle. Light that nose candle. Light that heart candle. Let them burn as bright as you want. And then blow them all out. Nothing but smoke. Let it all go. When you're ready, do it again. Belly candle. Nose candle. Heart candle. Let them burn. And blow them out. Release, release. Nothing to hold on to. Let that visual of the smoke represent the drifting away of anything that's trying to cling to you. Let's do one more together, and then I'll hold space for just about 30 seconds for you to practice a little more on your own. Here we go. Connect with that healthy and comfortable posture. Hand on the belly, hand on the heart, and light that belly candle. Light that nose candle. Light that heart candle. Let them burn. And blow them out. Nothing but smoke drifting away. Why don't you do 2 more rounds now on your own? I'll just give a little gentle narration in the background. Let those flames burn bright. Let them go. 3 brains, 1 mind. 3 flames, 1 fire. And as you wind down your practice, I invite you to gently give thanks to yourself for engaging in it. And hold a little space for reflection. If you're feeling better now, if you're feeling more connected now, if you're glad you did this, note that for yourself. Give a little space for your mind to make a connection between what you just did and how you're now feeling. This will help you remember the practice in the future, and it'll empower you to engage it when you really need it, which is that time of stress, feeling scattered, feeling uncentered. This practice quite literally will recenter you right down through your center line, connect those 3 brains, and help you soften, feel, and flow. Thanks, Magdalena.
Yay, wonderful. I love that. I would love for anyone. I know we had a couple people on live. I don't know if they joined us and did it live, if you felt that beautiful experience. And I like what you said about reflect on it and be grateful for what you just did. Attitude of gratitude is the heart, right? So that's how it becomes more magnetic to attracting more. And I love the candles too. So thank you for that beautiful Magic. So, and I wanted to say this. I will put the link to your book in the show notes. So please do get his book. And this is kind of a fun question for me because I've been your combo practitioner now for a while.
Yeah.
And I know you know the power of combo also for the heart. What do you see as a heart connection specialist and a healer that combo brings to the table?
For me, combo is very much about clearing. Combo for me, I'll find myself stuck in these thought patterns, a lot of these scarcity or inadequacy thoughts. For me, it's a lot around worthiness, being worthy of love, being worthy of good things, being worthy of heart-to-heart connection with other people in my life. And combo, more really than any other medicine that I've dealt with, really clears the air. It's kind of like, there in Greek mythology, there was that Hercules had a task of clearing out these stables, like 50 or something stables that were just piled high with manure. What did he do? He channeled a river through them and flushed it all out. And that's really what combo does for me. When that happens, if you think of that heart flow, that connection of consciousness as a river going, when you have all those inadequacy feelings and scarcity thoughts scattered in your being, they're kind of like diversions that take that channel away from your heart and push them out. When you clear that out, that river, that channel naturally recongregates into its home, which is the heart. And so I find after those combo sessions, I'm much more naturally flowing through my heart space. I don't even necessarily need to use a lot of the practices I'm commonly using to compensate for all that scarcity thinking I have. In the immediate wake of combo, that channel is just so much more open, so much more pure, and so much more directed at the heart because combo has cleared out so many of those literal distractions and diversions that have been in my mental space, my physical body, and my emotional body. And so I thank you for bringing combo so powerfully into my life, helping to strengthen my connection to my heart.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, and I know with Reiki, you work a lot with the chakras too, right? So just to remind our audience, this is part education, part experience. So hopefully if you're just joining us now, you're going to want to go back and watch the whole thing again, because we got a healing experience here today and getting you into the heart after this solstice, freaking intense energies. And it's been insane. I've been crying like every day for a week. So if you've been feeling the feels, it's okay. If you've been arguing with your spouse, it's probably normal and okay, because a lot of things are being cleansed and cleared. And so those lower three chakras is a lot of what, is blocking us also from feeling the heart, and the lower vibrational energies are all down in the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. So if you can, again, get Joe's book. He's got a special gift. I want to have a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll share after that where you all can find Joe, and he has a special gift to share and a closing question. So don't go away, Joe. Don't go away, audience. We got this word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Healthy and Wealthy and Wise is proudly sponsored by the Soul Vine, your number one go-to source for ayahuasca microdosing. This ayahuasca is legal. It is the Cappy vine. There is no DMT extract or molecule as a part of it, and it can and will transform your life from the inside out. Supporting the Shipibo tribe from South America, this is my go-to source for healing. Learn more at microdosingforhealth.com.
I want to give a quick reminder. This has been on the screen, but in case you're listening only on audio, definitely if you saw value in the show today, please hit the share button. Sharing is caring. I'm a big advocate for mental health and suicide awareness. And the things that Joe is talking about here literally saved his life, helped him transform. Very similar to my path. And there's so many people out there hurting right now. So if you know someone struggling with addiction, grief, any of the things that Joe has talked about in his own journey, just feel like they're losing their mind. And it's actually a good thing, right, Joe? We want you to lose your mind so you get into your heart. Just FYI, spoiler alert, that's why it's happening for you. And there's no way around it. Like, it's happening. So find the tools that Joe provides. And speaking of finding, how do they find you, Joe? And what is your gift for our audience today?
Yeah, so the best way to find me is through my website. My name is Joseph Clarke. There's an E on the end of Clarke. And my website is josephclarke-spiritualflourishing.com. I'll say it one more time. Joseph Clarke with an E spiritualflourishing.com. And through my website, you can learn more about me and my services, book your free consultation. And, my specialty, I love working one-on-one with clients. And what I do is I help you strengthen your heart connection. I use a combination of Reiki energy healing, mindfulness coaching, and heart-to-heart dialogue to help you strengthen your connection to your beautiful and powerful heart. And the outcomes I'm seeing for clients, they're overcoming addictive patterns that have been holding them back for years. They're finally feeling the energy and the confidence to pursue their heartfelt passions. I had a client the other day who'd been wanting to paint for a long time, had her first Reiki session with me. That night, she texted me. She's like, I finally got out. I got my painting. She sent me a picture of it. It was gorgeous. And that's just music to my ears. And, the other thing I really help folks do is strengthen their relationships with the people who matter most to them, their spouses, their kids, their parents, their siblings, their dear friends. When we're blocked in our hearts, it creates a blockage in those relationships. In fact, those difficulties in those relationships are kind of a mirror image telling you, hey, there's something in your heart that wants to be cleared. I help you make those clearances so that you can then go back and re-engage those relationships with newfound gladness, confidence, and optimism.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you also have, and I'll put all of this in the show notes. So if they want the special Joe Clarke deal on Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, what is that? What do they get?
So when you come for your consultation, if you cite this code, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise 90, your first session will be a 90-minute session for the price of a 60-minute session. So free 30 additional minutes, which with the power of Reiki energy healing, with the power of some of these breathing methods we can do, you can just imagine what a beautiful kickstart to the process that would be to have that additional 30 minutes on there. So that's my offering to you today.
Yay. And I will, there's no deadline on that, right? Even if they see this show 6 months from now, 6 years from now, you're going to honor that.
It's evergreen.
Okay, cool. And I always close with this final question. It's a long-standing question. Healthy and Wealthy and Wise is the name of my podcast, even though it's changed genres from entrepreneurship to spirituality. It's still was channeled and given to me during the pandemic, during my dark night of the soul of embodiment and truth for me. But when you hear the phrase Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, Joe, what does it mean for you?
For me, it means freedom. When you're healthy, you have the ability and the vitality to do the things you truly want to do, right? When you're unhealthy, you may feel stuck at home. You may feel limited in the social outings you could do, the new relationships you can make, the new things you can try. You become confined, almost pinned in by both the health issues and then the mental issues that tend to glom around those, the feelings of confinement and limitation. When you're healthy, you're free to pursue your heartfelt passions and get the most out of life that you want to. And likewise with wealthy, for me, that also speaks to freedom. Those things I talked about, going on trips, going to meet friends, trying new things, in our reality, they take money. And instead of seeing wealth as an ends unto itself, I love seeing wealth as a means to greater ends, such as going out and making connections, developing new skills, learning new things about yourself, just doing things that you love and truly enjoy. And then wise is also a key to freedom, because that classic image that we have from cartoons in our childhood of the angel and the devil on our shoulder, that to me is so true. We have so many opportunities in life, and there's so many temptations as well. And so as we go out into the world and we're trying new things, we're trying new medicines, we're meeting new people, those temptations are always going to be there to overdo things, to take things too far, to lose ourselves. And so wisdom is what keeps us centered, keeps us steady, and allows us to pursue those passions we want while staying in alignment with our deepest truths.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so profound. Thank you so much for your wisdom, sharing your wisdom today and your story. And so grateful to have you here, my brother, and grateful for your path and for overcoming so that we can all learn from you.
Amen. Thanks for having me on so much.
Yay. So stay tuned. I've got a lot of shows coming up and different themes and messages. I'll be sharing about my Mount Shasta breakthrough and a little bit of breakdown and what the mountain did for me, the shadow work that came through it, and hopefully how I can share some wisdom with you on that, as well as future guests coming up in the month of July. So until next time, everyone, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, download, leave a 5-star rating or review, and also please refer this to a friend you know who may benefit from this inspirational message. We hope to see you again. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel or join my Facebook community. And if you are looking to manifest your best health, your best wealth by trusting your best wisdom within, please go to my website, www.microdosingforhealth.com. Again, www.microdosingforhealth.com, to quiet your mind, get into your heart, heal your body, and manifest your best health and your best wealth.